Nasdaq drops over 2%, marking its worst day since February as Fitch's downgrade on US's long-term rating ignites a sell-off. US 10-year yield hits its highest level since November. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific open lower, with the gift Nifty suggesting a negative start for the Indian market. Oil prices dropped 2% despite a historic drop in US crude stocks, with the Brent trading below $84 per barrel. Gold prices dip as the dollar index and bond yields firm up after data suggests a surge in private payrolls in the US. Titan reports an operationally weak first quarter, with jewelry margin at its lowest in over 2 years. Indigo delivers a strong quarter one with record high top line and bottom line. In important earnings to track today, Bharti Airtel, Eicher Motors and Sun Pharma are expected to report their numbers. 28% GST on online money gaming, horse racing and casinos are here to stay, but the government clarifies the levy will be imposed on entry-level bets. Most states agree to implement the tax starting October, even as Delhi, Goa and Sikkim dissent. Tensions continue to simmer in parts of Haryana, with fresh incidents of violence reported from Manesar and Gurugram on Wednesday. Haryana government urges the centre to deploy more paramilitary forces. Internet services remain suspended in Nuh, Faridabad, Palwal, Sohna and Manesar. Good morning in the Mumbai News Centre. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast. Those are the top headlines. It's a Thursday morning. But first up, let's take a look at what the Asian markets are doing, because there's a lot of action that we saw in the global markets after Fitch's downgrade coming in for US's rating. Taiwanese index is down 1.5%, more than 1.5% actually, 320 points gone there. Hang Seng is absolutely flat, but with some positive bias. So there is a 9-point gain there. But apart from that, if you look at something like a Kospi, a Shanghai, all of them are lower in trade as we speak. We do have the Nikkei also, which is trading lower right now, 1.1% there. And it really is the impact of what happened in the US markets overnight, because Dow, Nasdaq and S&P, all of them saw an impact of what the impact was of Fitch's rating downgrade for the US. GIFT Nifty, that'll come up for you on the screen, and that one is indicating that the start for our own markets, again in the red. It's a 58-point downtick that the GIFT Nifty is indicating. Yesterday, we closed above the 19,500 mark. Looks like it could be a day where we'll see some more pressure. Let's talk about the U.S. markets now. Wall Street ended yesterday's session sharply lower. The Dow Jones tumbled 350 points, while the S&P closed over 1% lower. The tech-heavy Nasdaq was the biggest loser, closing over 2% lower. CNBC's Pippa Stevens gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street. That is some expert opinion coming in. But with that, let's do one thing. Let's move on to our final update in our global market wrap this morning. European markets also ended Wednesday's trading session lower, with the three major averages, the French CAC, the German DAX and the British FTSE, falling over 1%. The pan-European Stoxx 600 index fell 1.4%, touching its lowest level since July 18 and declining for the second straight day. The Euro Stoxx Volatility Index also hit a 9-week high. In important cues to track, the Bank of England is expected to raise interest rates to a 15-year high today, with consensus estimates pointing to a 25 basis point hike. However, they do not rule out the possibility of a surprise 50 basis point hike as seen in June. And with that, it's time for a short break. When we come back, we'll tell you how these overnight cues impact our own markets. This will be our Power Prep segment. Stay tuned for that. Welcome back. You're watching Power Breakfast here on CNBC TV18. Well, we spoke about the global cues and what really happened overnight, but let's get in our research team joining in with what the trade setup is looking like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news and the action from the F&O space as well. Hey guys, a very good morning to all of you. Vivek, let me come across to you first up. It is not looking like a positive global setup for now.
Well, you're absolutely right. what's actually happened overnight is that there's been quite a bit of an equity sell-off as far as global markets are concerned. The Fitch rating downgrade has weighed in on the US markets. All US markets down between 1% to 2.2%, Nasdaq down over 2%. European markets too joined the sell-off. Anywhere between 1.4 to 1.8% is where European markets ended lower yesterday. Crude oil prices too, actually joined the sell-off. Yesterday, Brent futures as well as WTI futures both fell over 2%. Now, coming closer to the Indian markets, what actually happened yesterday was that Indian markets saw a significant sell-off. However, there was a slight recovery as far as the last hour of trade was concerned. However, one important gauge to track would be the India Volatility Index, the VIX index, which surged 10% in yesterday's trading session. A broad-based sectoral weakness with IT as well as metal stocks seeing significant selling pressure. Today, a lot of important cues to track. Earnings season, quite a few numbers would be coming out today. Sun Pharma, Lupin, Bharti Airtel, Cummins, Dabur India, all of these companies would be declaring their Q1 results today. Another important trigger is the fact that Morgan Stanley has actually gone ahead and upgraded India, so that will be an important development to track as well. Both Asian markets as well as GIFT Nifty are indicating a subdued start to our own markets.
Okay, a subdued start is expected, 60 points lower on the GIFT Nifty, but a lot of stocks that will be on our radar as well. Surbhi has that list. Surbhi?
Thanks so much for that. Quite a few earnings. The first one is Titan. It was an operational miss over there. The revenues were up 19%. Margins came in at 10% versus 13% same time last year. Indigo, very strong earnings. They reported record high revenues and profits. Margins at a record high of 31%. Gujarat Gas, it was a top-down miss. Revenue was down 4% on a year-on-year basis. Margins came in at 10% versus 14% same time last year. HPCL, it was a top-down beat. Revenues were up 4%. Operating margins came in at 8.3% versus 4%. Metropolis, the revenues were down 1% on a year-on-year basis. The margins came in at 22.7% versus 24.5%. Narayana Hrudayalaya, the highest ever quarterly revenue was reported by them. Margins came in at 22% versus 19%. And lastly, Vedanta will also be on our radar. The promoter Twinstar is likely to sell 16 crore shares via block deals today.
Okay, all right. That's all about the stocks that are on our radar, but a lot of action in the F&O space as well. Manglam is joining in now. Hey, Manglam.
Good morning. So it is weekly options expiry. Today it will be extremely important to watch out for where we go, because yesterday was a big decline that was led by, global weakness. So we presaged the decline that we saw overnight in the US markets as well. Important to see whether we see some sort of recovery or not. For now, the GIFT Nifty is indicating a soft opening after a big decline yesterday as well. But remember, the VIX, the India Volatility Index, saw a spike of almost 10%, but it's still below that 12 mark. So that's something we need to watch out for. The other thing that we've been alluding to over the last few trading sessions is the FII selling. Yesterday, they were selling from both the FIs and mild selling from the DIs, but 5 straight sessions, the FIs have sold almost $1 billion in our cash market itself. Not just that, they've been selling in index futures as well. 860 crore worth selling, 9,000 long contracts unwound, and their long exposure now stands at 49%. So for the first time in the last many series, the FIs have turned net short on the index, with their net longs dropping to a negative 43 contracts itself. It is weekly options expiry, but in a day where we saw a big decline, we would have seen a lot higher call selling, but that hasn't come about. 1.36 lakh calls written, 1.07 lakh puts written, telling you that we're closer to support levels as well. On the way up, however, we could face some resistance. 19,600 and 19,500 calls have seen a fair amount of writing, whereas the recovery from the last hour from the lows made sure that the bulls wrote that 19,450 put. Yesterday's low on the Nifty also coincided with the 30-day moving average, so important support on a technical basis. But on the way up, the 20-day moving average, which was a support, will be a bit of a resistance. For the Nifty Bank as well, yesterday's low is an important one to watch out for, because that was closer to the 50-day moving average itself. A bunch of stocks will be in focus today, but on a daily basis, we're getting each stock in F&O ban, and today the one that goes into ban is GNFC.
Okay, all right. GNFC also reports numbers next week. Thank you guys for joining us and taking us through what to watch out for in today's trading session. It is going to be an interesting one. With that, we'll slip into another break, and when we come back, we'll get you more updates and tell you about all the tensions that have continued to simmer in parts of Haryana. We'll get you more details on that. Welcome back. It's time to get you the latest update on the virtual GST Council meet held yesterday. The Council has decided no rollback on 28% GST on online gaming, horse racing and casinos. And clarifying on the levy, the Council has decided to impose tax at the entry level. However, it does not intend to levy GST on the redeployment of the winning amount. The 28% GST is expected to come into effect from October. However, with Delhi, Goa and Sikkim dissenting, the Council has agreed for a review 6 months after implementation. Let's now listen into Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman talking about the review and implementation.
The Council agreed today to come back after 6 months to review the way in which this is getting implemented. When I say 6 months, it's not 6 consecutive months beginning from today. It begins from after when this gets implemented. We are all hopeful that it gets implemented from 1st October. If it is 1st October when it gets implemented, 6 months from then, the Council can review the position.
Okay, with that, we'll move on and get you some updates on the tense situation in Haryana, which remains on high alert since communal clashes broke out in Nuh district on Monday. The state government has urged the centre to step up paramilitary security as violence spreads to more districts. Internet services remain suspended in Nuh, Faridabad, Palwal, Sona and Manesar. My colleague Abhimanyu Sharma gets us this ground report from Nuh.
We are currently standing in Nuh, where still there is an uneasy calm. Section 144 is in place. Not just the state police, but also central security forces have been deployed across the city and its vicinity. Internet services have been suspended, not just in Nuh, but also in adjoining areas like Sohna. It remains to be seen how the situation is going to pan out. There is a possibility that a relaxation of a few hours from Section 144 will be given to people to come out and buy essential goods and items.
जिस दिन हमारे साथ ये हादसा हुआ था 2:30 बजे ये हादसा चालू हुआ था 6 साढ़े 6 बजे तक प्रशासन की शासन की कोई मदद नहीं मिली थी। इवन अ सिंगल पर्सन पुलिस का कोई बंदा नहीं था।
अभी तो डर से लोग बाग सो भी नहीं रहे हैं, क्योंकि पता नहीं पहाड़ों में घुसे पड़े, कबाड़ टूटे। यही स्थिति है यहाँ की। भाई डर तो डर होता है।
We're standing in the Padli Road area in Nuh in Haryana, where violence and arson since the past few days has impacted the people who are living in the vicinity. Behind me is a temple which was pelted with stones. The marks of the pelted stones can still be seen on the gate of the temple, and the asbestos and plastic sheets at the exterior of the temple can be seen as impaled as of now. Vehicles were also torched. This shop located towards my left was gutted in the arson which was carried out a couple of days back.
प्रशासन ने जैसे अपना जैसे ये स्थिति गंभीर हुई थी तो प्रशासन को सूचना दी गई, तो प्रशासन ने जैसे भी हुआ उचित समय पे आके इस स्थिति को नियंत्रण में किया, काबू में किया.
This is the Nalhadeshwar Mahadev temple located in Nuh, Mewat. This is an ancient temple where an annual Shobha Yatra is carried out during these Hindu calendar months. The Shobha Yatra is being carried out since the past couple of years according to the temple staff. This year, as the temple staff stated, when the Yatra was exiting from this temple and was passing through the Nuh city, that is the time when the situation worsened and violence broke out, after which the Yatra and the devotees were forced to turn back into the temple and they were stuck inside the temple for a few hours. As of now, the temple administration and the security forces are trying to ensure normalcy, even as there is Section 144 imposed across the city of Nuh and internet services continue to remain suspended.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Abhimanyu, for getting us all those important details. We'll keep getting you more updates on this situation which is developing in Haryana. Moving on and quickly taking a look at what the Asian markets are doing. The last time we saw it was a red screen as far as the Asian markets are concerned. The Hang Seng is still down 30 points and it has actually seen some more losses from the top. The Taiwanese index is down 320 points. We do have the Nikkei also, which is trending lower, 1.5% gone there. And GIFT Nifty, that will come up for you on the screen. But if you look at the implied open, that is indicating that the start could be in the negative. It is a 56-point downtick that the implied open is suggesting as we speak. So that is something we'll be watching out for as well. With that, we'll take your leave on this edition of Power Breakfast. Stay tuned. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.